My name is James. I'm doing a quick overview of the James Madison Tactical Polymer Lower Receivers, the 80% lowers that you'll probably see on James Madison Tactical. The purpose of this video is that I want to give kind of an overview of my experiences with these polymer lowers, and also kind of tell you what methods I use to drill out my lowers to help those out there that do eventually purchase one of these lowers to properly construct one and get a working firearm. Before you right now on this video, I have basically my two latest builds. This one right here was using the James Madison Generation 1 80% polymer lower. And then this one up here is the Generation 2 where James Madison did go in and make some what I've seen is mostly cosmetic changes. Both polymer lowers worked pretty well as far as being able to machine out. To be quite honest, the difference between my impressions of the differences between the Generation 1 and the Generation 2 is mostly cosmetic. As you see here with the Generation 1, the James Madison logo is pretty big on the magazine weld right here. Where the Generation 2, they kind of moved their logo kind of up in a smaller corner, and also on the magazine weld basically put a waffle design. That's to kind of match a lot of your Magpul lower, your Magpul magazines. As you see right here, the waffle pattern kind of matches up. Now on James Madison's site, it does list this as having the same shade as the actual Magpul, grips. However, as you can see here, the actual flat dark earth between the James Madison lower and then also the Magpul components, there is a slight shade difference between the two. It's not too noticeable from a distance, or even depending on lighting, but it is kind of noticeable. So the folks out there that are really wanting to get a lower receiver that kind of matches up, perfectly with their Magpul components, might be slightly disappointed. However, it does still have a good contrast between the flat dark earth and your other components of your rifle. So the folks out there that want to get a rifle that kind of has components that have different colors in them, just for cosmetic purposes, it's not that big of a deal. Both of these, as I stated earlier, both of these 80% lowers, both the Generation 1 and the Generation 2, they were both the actual milling process for both of those were the same. That's why I kind of, in my perspective, the difference between the Generation 1 and the Generation 2 was mostly cosmetic. Now, I am not a person that's well adept to doing any type of machining or any type of work on components before. So both of these 80% lowers were, this was my first attempt and this was my second attempt, and even on my first attempt, I was able to successfully get a working firearm, which I was pretty impressed because, like I said, I'm not that mechanically inclined. So it kind of shows that for folks out there that have never done any machine work or any work with an end mill or a drill press, can still get a working firearm. Now, one of the things you'll need to successfully complete a 80% lower is basically your end mill bits, which are these down here. They're really hard to find in hardware stores, because if you go to someplace like Lowe's or Home Depot, from what I've seen, they don't typically carry these. But if you go onto someplace like eBay or a place that sells end mills, you'll be able to pick these up for pretty cheap. These bits actually fit in both a drill press or an end mill. So if you're using a drill press to complete your 80% lower, they'll still work just fine. In fact, on my first 80% lower, I actually used a drill press as opposed to a mill, and I was able to get a quality working product. If you do decide to use an end mill, you'll need, of course, the end mill bits. Then you also need one of these, which is a collet for your end mill. I just as with my end mills, I also went out to eBay and kind of looked up collets. I was able to pick up one for I think around $12. So as far as components, as far as tools that you'll need that you don't necessarily have, getting the end mill bits or even the collets is pretty inexpensive. So that'll make, therefore you don't need any specialty tools. And when I did my 80% lower, I basically used an economically budgeted or an economically priced drill press I got from Harbor Freight. So what I'm trying to say here is that you don't need any high quality tools to get the job done, but you still have to go out there and and purchase the right ones. So you're going to have to go out there and get these end mill bits. Don't do what I did. On my first attempt, I tried to use my standard drill press bits to try to mill out or carve out my lower receiver hour, and I almost destroyed the drill press and also the bits as well. So make sure that when you build one of these 80% lowers, you go out and get the end mill bits. And like I said, you can get those on eBay or different websites out there, and they're pretty inexpensive, and they last a pretty good time. One of the other things I also got when I was working on my drill presses, also got a vise. This one right here is kind of an inexpensive vise I got from Harbor Freight. It worked pretty good as far as holding my my 80% lower, and the component in place while I was doing while I was drilling it out. Like I said, along with my other components, you can get one of these pretty cheap from Harbor Freight or from Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever hardware or tool store you have in your local area. But overall, I was pretty impressed with the James Madison 80% lowers. It was my first attempt to try to build my own AR-15, and I was able to get on my first attempt able to get a functioning firearm. And then of course I went out and bought another 80% lower and got my second one built with no issues. As far as the rest of the components on my rifle, I pretty much bought these from Palmetto State, at least my upper. Some of the other components, like these two right here, I kind of got from different sources, from Amazon or from some other websites. Because basically, I know some folks out there like to build some really high-speed tactical rifles. But for me, my goal was to kind of come in and build a rifle as economically as possible. So if you took the James Madison Tactical lower, and if you go on to to Palmetto State or Palmetto State Armory or some other sites, and then kind of shop around, and also shop around for your lower parts kit and some of your other components. You could probably get a rifle built, a working AR-15 rifle built for around $650, depending, like I said, depending on what sources you use, which is pretty price comparable for the ones you can buy off the shelf. So. For the folks out there that are looking at trying to build their own rifle and do it economically, getting the James Madison 80% lower, and then of course going out there and getting your additional components, you can come up with a rifle that is economically priced and functions and kind of fits your need. And also, when you build your rifles, of course, as you see on other YouTube videos, you can kind of pick your components. Like this right here is I got this from Magpul. The scope I got is a BSA scope, so you can kind of pick your components. If you want to use a standard rear sight. So that's one of the fun things about building your own rifles, that you can go out there and kind of pick your own components and kind of put together your own rifle. I mean, yeah, my rifles here, the colors are mismatched and everything, but you know what? They're ones that I built, using my own skills and whatnot, and also going out there and looking at how I wanted to have them look. So yeah, even though they're not pretty, even though they're not perfect, I think they do fit my needs as far as a recreational and kind of a shooter that's not interested in competitive shooting, but more or less just going out there and just doing some plinking and some recreational shooting. But I'll conclude this video by saying that the James Madison Tactical 80% lowers, the ones you have to go through the process and machine out aren't that hard to machine out. And for the folks out there that are not mechanically inclined like I am, you can still with some time on a drill press or a end mill, still come up with a quality product that works and that you can take to the range and go out there and just have some fun. All right, that pretty much concludes my review of the James Madison Tactical 80% lowers. Thanks for watching.